Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I was inspired to make a G's Bend quilt. Now, G's Bend, the official name is Boykin, and I'm positive that you've heard of them before. So their story began in the 19th century when enslaved women in an isolated rural spot started making quilts from what they had at hand to keep their families warm. And obviously, their tradition of quilting and sharing their stories has become very publicized today, and their quilts are shown in museums. I have chosen a selected of quilts to share with you before I introduce the video so that you get an idea of how I comprised mine and where my inspiration came from. So let's move forward into the video. I want to share with you whether or not I've actually achieved some of the purpose of their quilting using, repeated fabrics, abstraction and improvisation within my quilt, and whether or not the patterns, and the geometry, i.e. using the shapes, were correct in my quilt. Do share with me down below whether or not you think I actually achieved this. And listen for my conclusion. I'd like to hear your feedback as well. So let's get started into the video and whether or not my inspiration was really well founded using and making my own G's Bend inspired quilt. All right, guys. So to make this inspired G's Bend quilt, I'm going to be using the same color concept. And what I mean by that, I'm going to be using a multitude of the same strips throughout the quilt. Based on my research, their quilts are constructed in a very improvisational, inspiring concept, okay? In the sense of using whatever you have available, as we all know this. So, and what I will call actually purposeful quilting, right? So the quilt in this instance here that they made were for the purpose of keeping warm. All right, so that's the concept I have to keep in my mind to constantly make the blocks. Now, I am using scraps, and if you want to make this, you can also use scraps, and you can use also leftover fabric from cut yardage, all right, which I have incorporated some of those as well. One of the things I would say though is that I am keeping with more or less plain neutral colors, in the sense that reds, blues, just plain fabrics, no patterns. There are one or two that has patterns on it, but it's very minuscule in the sense that it could easily blending as a plain fabric. Now, I did that purposely because that is the concept of how they build their blocks. All right, I'm going to construct a block here, which I've started, and I wanted to stop and continue in front of you, called a Housetop. All right, to me it is very much a half of a log cabin block. And so basically you starting with a center square, could be any color, but I have chosen white because the colors I have here is very much bright reds, bright greens, yellows. Again, a lot of the colors that they used in their quilts, very much traditional ones in the sense of, and when I use the word traditional, I am more referring to the scrappy effect is what I'm going at. A lot of those quilts now is you will see, for example, a courthouse, but it will be the entire quilt made of scraps of the courthouse. All right, so that's not what I'm going for. Another concept of their quilts is to have random pieces of triangles, rectangles in the quilt. All right, so let's bear that in mind. So starting with this one here, I'm going to take that and I'm just going to build this house on one side. Remember, this block is called the Housetop. So that's all I am doing. You can start with any size that you want. It doesn't really matter. And you just work your way around to build it. Again, you can go as huge as you want to with the concept of the quilt. All right, I have trimmed them slightly bigger, I should say, than what, or longer, I should say, so that way I have enough for it to go all the way around. I think I'll go there with that one, and then there. Okay, again, using the same colors throughout, and I have to keep thinking of how they would have constructed this with the limitation of fabrics that they would have had. Now remember, as I said, you don't necessarily need to have the same colors going all the way around. So that is what I'm keeping in mind. You can even construct this with just 2 colors. All right. However, I am trying to keep it to the concept of what my research tells me to do. I'm really trying to focus and get this geese bend inspired look. So this is, and I know it doesn't look right, and I'm loving that, because this quilt design or quilt inspired geese bend is not about perfection. That I think that's what they were going for. It's not about color balance, but in a sense it does. The balance of the colors just works in that quilt, which is fascinating. So I'm going to leave this one aside. I'm going to sew that later. So I'm going to use one. I have this diamond shape here, and this was from a, as you all know, I tend to like to, you know, play around or practice a particular pattern. So this was from a pattern construct practice. So I can start with white there. All right, again, using the same colors, and I am going to cut it longer than what it is. Okay, I am not so bothered about cutting it you know, really beautiful or neat and tidy. That is not what, remember, I must admit, it's quite hard to remain in that mindset, because I don't want the organizational, you know, planned scrap take over. That's the normal Karen. I'm trying to go outside of what I am used to, so that way I get the concept of their type of quilting. All right, I will probably add, I think I'm going to add a red piece there. And again, this is not something I would have done when I'm making my quilt. The reason why I'm saying that, because to me, I have that red touching that red there. And in essence, really, I may possibly lose the diamond shape just by adding that red there. But this is something they would have done. So that is what I'm going with, all right? They also used a lot of different color strips. So to make this more improvisational, I'm going to add a strip of black in between there and come back with that white there. All right. Once I am happy, and again, something like this, I am going to use it. I'm going to fit it in right there. And literally, I think I have enough to square up this block to what I want it to be. So I'm going to sew these together, both of them, and you would see what I come up with. Remember as well, this is not about, if you're going to try it, take off or remove, disregard perfection, disregard making sure all the strips are the same size, disregard all the strips being the beautiful, the best colors, the best quality fabric. Disregard that. All right. I think if you do that, then your canvas is blank, as they say, and then you can then become more improvisational, creative. I hope that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to sew this together. I may not necessarily show you how to sew it together, but you know, I think this one is self-explanatory, because we will start there, then go there, then go there, and continue until we get to the end. This one, however, I think I will demonstrate, because it's a little bit very much improvisational, this one. It's pieces all over. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate how I do this one, and then we will move on to the layout.
some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry.
Alright guys, so I've ironed. I'm just going to lay out. I have no sort of pre-planned of how I'm going to lay this out. I'm not sure how many blocks I have made here, but it seems quite a lot. This is the one we just made together. I did add another blue strip at the bottom there. Alright, so let's get started. If it's not tall enough, what I would do is add a larger piece or a piece somewhere around at the side or at the top, just to make sure it's equated. I am not too bothered about where the blocks go, I'll be honest about that. And I will move around, but for now I'll just place them wherever and see what it looks like. I have one little piece left. Not sure where to fit it in, but I'm sure I could fit it in once I start sewing. I'm going to place it here for now. I just overlap a little bit on some of them. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera. Hopefully you can get a better look and what it looks like and what I actually need to move around. Alright, so this is a view from the top. Now, I must admit, this does look very geese bend. I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know. I haven't even stitched it together as yet, and I'm feeling the vibe. Now, what I want to try and figure out is which blocks to move. But because it's such an abstract quilt in the making, I really don't know which one to move. Do you know what I mean? Because this is what their quilting is all about. It just looks like random placement. But I'm sure it isn't from their point of view. But from my point of view, it looks like random placement, just at improvisation, whatever it feels like. And, you know, it just looks, I'm just loving the abstract. I think I have covered the line quilting. I think I have covered the stripes. I think I've covered the thin, medium, small, very small pieces of fabric. I think I've covered the geometrical shapes, you know, such as this one here, you know, even sort of the piecing on the slant, you know what I mean, you know. I have also done the housetop, because that's one of the traditional blocks from their quilting, you know, and just really wide pieces of fabric, or like 2 inches, 3 inches sometimes you get just placed together. It does look it. I think I've achieved it. Let me know, as I said. In terms of moving it around, I don't know. I think in the placement it's been placed correctly. I mean, I am feeling to move these two here together because it just looks slightly similar. But again, this is what their quilts are all about. You know, it's just these vibrant colors, the same colors that's seen throughout, and just the different shapes that what's really get you. So I'm not sure if I want to move it. I mean, for example, look at this one here, you know, that flying geese, and I deliberately did it like that, you know, it again, because their piecing is not, you know, that precise piecing, isn't it? You know, how a modern quilting is today in terms of making sure everything is lined up properly. You know, their quilting is about a purpose, isn't it? It's purposeful quilting. It has a means to an end. And now obviously their quilts are shown in museums, etc., because of the history it carries. So, I mean, like for example, these two here, very similar. So I may move these around because the piecing reflects each other. But again, it works. This is what's confusing to me. How does it work? Very enlightening to make a quilt like this. I will urge you to try one. Alright, so I think I will move 1 or 2 around, and then I will piece it, and then we will talk about how I go about the quilting. Alright guys, so here is the finish inspired Geese Ben's quilt. How did I do? I do believe that I have achieved a lot of the points for making one of their quilts. So a lot of their quilts, as I stated earlier, is based on the purposeful or the meaning of it, i.e. whether or not it was used for the purpose of keeping warm. Abstraction, okay, it looks very abstract, artist-wise, I do believe. Also, the idea of using different shapes, the geometric shapes of each of the blocks, okay. Some flying geeses, not made very neat and tidy as we would. As you can see, one side is longer than the other. Okay, I also included the traditional blocks like the housetop blocks. I used different size of strips to achieve my pattern. I achieved, I think, the color concept using the same colors throughout, helped making it a lot more abstract, okay? And I'm trying to gauge the inspiration of how I comprise the quilt. using their sort of thinking, their sort of methods to complete it. Do let me know down below if you think I achieved it. One of their quilts, or the types of quilts that they make, they don't usually have borders, but I did include one. And if they do have a border, it is very much a very small border. As you can see, I use a different piece here for my binding. I think it looks good. Another thing of their quilt is that they don't usually use too much patterns of prints. It's a lot of plain patterns they use, especially the traditional ones, okay? They use a lot of line piecing as well, so a lot of stripes or strips of fabric together. Now, I don't hand quilt, and I didn't choose to do this in terms of hand quilting, obviously, but I did use straight line machine quilting, and I tried to sort of make the stitch length a little bit longer, so you can see they're much longer than what they would be normally, because at the end of the day I'd already pieced it, isn't it? So, and I was trying to emulate here hand stitching, all right? But I think it looks very abstract. I think I have achieved the outcome of what a G's Ben's quilt looks like. Do let me know down below. It was very improvisational, i.e. how I feel, what I think the colors would look like. I did try to place the colors dotted around the fabric, the quilt, so that it doesn't look altogether bunched up. And again, it's very vibrant. It's very artist-like, and I love it. I don't know the size, but I didn't measure it. I'll put the size in the description box, or I'll pin it in the comment below. But it's beautiful. I will frame this and make it into a wall hanging, definitely, and I will share that with you. As you can see, Jackson, why are you smelling my quilt? Can you explain that to me? What did it do to you? Nothing. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Do let me know what you think of my inspired G's Ben's quilt. I think Jackson likes it. He gave me a squeaky toy sound. There he goes again. Do like and subscribe for more. I look forward to your feedback on this one. On the back, if you're wondering, is just simple floral, blue floral, and again you can see those straight line quilting if I go in nice and close there. And as I said, really try to get the stitch length a little bit big, so I sort of emulated, as I said, that hand quilting. But I love it. I must admit, I'm very pleased with myself. It looks beautiful. Do let me know, as I said, if I achieved it. Bye for now. Happy quilting. I look forward to your comments as usual, as I hold you guys in high esteem. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Happy quilting. Love you lots.